Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hey everyone, I hope you're having an incredible week. This episode is going to be fun because we are connecting with one of the moms from our Mother's Day celebration series who is finally on for her very own episode. She was in the group episode, the second ever group podcast discussion. And aside from going pro in 2018 at Masters Nationals, this athlete has been a wife to her husband for 18 years. She is the mom of 3 boys, and as an N1 education certified biomechanics and execution and nutrition and program design coach, she took her expertise to online coaching in 2016 to help her clients overcome obstacles and become their best. And I can't wait for everybody to hear from her because we have a lot of great things coming. So welcome to the show, Valerie Lusvardi. How are you doing?
Yay! I am so good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Of course. I'm so happy you're here. And I got to ask, what is something you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Ooh, it is breathing. I am a big believer in breathing and my affirmations. So those are the 2 things that I do is just those positive affirmations and taking those deep breaths.
Are there any specific affirmations that you do every time?
No, there's nothing specific. It's just, I am confident. I am bringing my best I've ever brought to the stage, like those type of things. Like, I'm so happy to be here. Like, I have good health that has led me to this point in my life. So those type of things. And I'm thinking of one more thing. So I love visualization. And so that's something that I do as I'm waiting in line to go on the stage, is just constantly review my routine in my head, because I think our bodies can't really tell the difference between what we're doing and what we're thinking. And so if we get that that routine, just kind of it just comes seamlessly without thinking about it, then we can really, like, when I'm on the stage, I can just really focus on my personality and have fun and not worry so much about okay, what am I doing next? And how, counting 3 seconds holding this pose and things like that.
I love that. And you're so right, especially with the visualization and the body the body and the brain not really knowing the difference, right, between what's real and what's not. And this is like the power of visualization, the power of our thoughts and our beliefs. And it's especially powerful if we really are immersed in the emotion. And that's why to kind of put this in perspective for listeners, if you have anxiety or you're thinking about something that brings you anxiety, your heart kind of starts pumping faster. Maybe you start sweating. You're not even in the moment of anxiousness or the thing that's making you nervous, but yet you're experiencing all of those symptoms. And that's because your body really is just responding to the hormones being released in your brain, and your brain is sending this signal. And I could go on about this forever, but I just love that that's something you leverage for yourself, Val. And I think it's so cool because it does make a huge difference. And I think that's something a lot of people can benefit from. And I'm actually curious if when you visualize it, do you even think about how the stage lights are going to feel or how the ground feels underneath you? Or do you just imagine the judges' faces, or what's it look like for you in your head?
I try to think of everything, picturing. My husband hasn't seen very many of my shows, but the shows that he has been able to go to, I picture him in the audience. Even I have music in my head that I'm imagining playing. I try to get down to the very detail. I just try to make it as realistic as possible. And I have to tell you, so when I did Universe, I like the song that had been going through my head was a Rihanna song all the time
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing my visualizations. And that was the song that was playing when I
Stop.
got to do my routine. And
I just
I
got
can't,
chills.
I cannot tell you, I can't think of the name of the song right now, but I can't tell you how excited I was. Like that routine, going out there to that music and being able to just like, literally like everybody says, you want to own the stage. Like I felt like
Yeah,
I was owning the stage. It was so much fun. I could not believe it was the song that I like loved to practice my posing to and visualize. So
that is so cool. Oh my
it was so,
gosh.
it
I
was
love
so
those kinds of stories. I think they're just amazing and powerful and empowering. And I definitely want to be talking to you too soon about your husband and him being at shows and stuff. And I just want everyone listening to know that if you guys haven't listened to the group podcast, we talked a lot about Val's journey as a mom and through pregnancy and into motherhood and her approach to those things on that podcast. And you can actually see when she said certain things in the episode notes of that podcast as well. So if you go to celestial.fit/podcast and you go to the group discussion, it's there. But we're going to be focusing a lot on her training and her journey through competing, and also her experience in managing mental health in conjunction with contest prep and life in general. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. But if you guys are craving more after this, which I'm sure you will be because this is going to be awesome, definitely check that out. So you just mentioned, your husband hasn't been to a lot of your shows, and I know he wasn't actually there when you won your pro card. So was that strange for you?
yes, it was so sad. I remember talking to him on the phone. I mean, it was exciting, but
Uh-huh.
I remember talking to him on the phone and I was like, we're getting ready to line up. And he goes, go earn your pro card. And I just giggled and I was like, okay. But deep down, I wouldn't have been there if I didn't believe that I could win my card. Like that,
Right.
I really think that you have to have that belief, or else what's the point of doing all the contest prep and the money and the travel and everything, but yeah, when it happened, I was in shock. I such a fun moment. I don't cry that much, but I actually cried, and it was fun to call my husband and tell him, and my kids. I have my 3 little boys, and they were like, "You got a trophy?" They were
Aw.
so excited about the trophy, but yeah, it was. I guess the wonderful thing about it was that I did have friends with me, and one of my friends actually won her pro card too at that show, and we were roommates.
Wow.
So that was a really fun experience to be able to be there with my friends.
Oh, so the girl you were rooming with won her pro card too?
Yes, she did.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. And when you got first call outs, did you know you would be getting your pro card? Like, were you like, okay, I got it, it's for sure? Or was there still part of you that's like, well, let's wait until finals?
I didn't move. I stayed, and the girls on either side of me moved around and I stayed. So
Oh.
when I was standing there and the other girls were moving, I was thinking, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me right now? Is this really happening? So I was pretty confident, but it's one of those things that I didn't want to jinx myself or whatever. So just waited patiently until the evening to find out. But I was really, really excited. And I just, even if I didn't earn my pro card, just to be placed in the top 5 at a national show was such an honor. So it was such a great experience.
That's amazing. Yeah. How many times had you stepped on a national stage before that?
Just once, just at
Okay.
Universe. So I did Universe, I did the Open and the Masters at Universe, and I placed 14th in the Masters. And then the next show, I placed first. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's amazing. Did you spend time like improving or building on their feedback?
there wasn't really a lot of time to do that. I'm trying to think. It was like 3 or 4 weeks in between, I believe.
Oh my gosh. So you just were
So
like, okay, let's see what happens.
yes, just coming in leaner and meaner, just trying to go for that.
For sure. And I know you actually did your own hair and makeup for Masters Nationals where you won your pro card. I
Yeah.
always find this fascinating because I'm like, that's something I think would be really cool to do, but I don't know, own makeup. I don't even know how to buy makeup, but I was thinking like, how many times did you have to practice? And then when did you know you nailed it? And like, did you consider the lighting of the venue or your tan? Like, how did you even go about doing that?
Yes. So the matching with the tan, like you want to have your base, like your face to match your first coat of your tan. You don't
Uh-huh.
want it. So anyway, it was a lot of videos. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I looked up a lot of Instagram stuff, and then I bought all sorts of different products. And yes, I spent quite a bit of time playing with makeup and trying to figure it out. And I did do some shows, some local shows before I went to the national stage that year. And so I had the opportunity to practice on myself for the local shows and get better each time.
Okay. And then
But
you
yeah,
just looked at your photos.
yes. So yeah, lots of pictures. So it's like I take a picture of myself and then I close my eyes and take a picture of myself. Yeah. And then I'd send it to like my coach and then I'd send it to some friends and I'm like, what do you guys think? So,
Uh-huh. That's
yes.
and do you usually do makeup? Like, did you have experience in that?
No, I didn't. But it was just something because you know how I mean national shows, even local shows, like you have to get up so
I
early
know.
to get your makeup done. And it is fun. I will admit, like I love that experience getting up and being with other girls and talking to the makeup artist. But I just also like to sleep. You
Yes.
know? So I was like, if I could figure this out so I can get a little bit more sleep, then it will be worth it. So
Yeah,
that's
especially as like an amateur competitor and not knowing exactly when you'll be on stage and then they have to do everybody's makeup and you're like, I have an appointment at 3 and I'm probably not stepping on stage till like 1, especially if it's in conjunction with the pro show. And so that can be really challenging and I love to hear people's perspective on that. And we had Natalie on and she was talking about her approach to stage makeup too. And I just think it's a great option for girls who do want to have that luxury of maybe more alone time or more sleep or maybe even to save money as well.
yes, money saving. And I also really like to play. So while I'm putting makeup on, I like to play like those motivational YouTube videos. So,
Mm,
getting in the, it's like a pre-game ritual type of thing, but pre-show ritual. So just
yes.
getting the right mindset, just staying relaxed and just doing my thing. So it's fun.
Absolutely. And I am curious, what were you doing before you started living the fitness lifestyle and doing all of this?
Before I started doing this, I worked for Rich Dad Poor Dad doing sales. So
Wow.
yeah, so I traveled around the country and a little bit of Canada, and I was like basically every week out of the year I was in a new city somewhere traveling around doing workshops. So I was busy doing that for like 6 years and then I got pregnant and didn't and I was did it up until I was like 7 months pregnant with my first, and traveling every single week when you're pregnant is super
Oh my
hard.
gosh, I cannot imagine.
Especially near the end. But so yeah, that's what I did before. I've always been active even when I was on the road and traveling
Mhm.
for work. The team that I would travel with, we would go and work out in the gym, but it was it was never, I don't really know what I was doing. And when I was home on the weekends, I liked to take classes at the gym and do, strike or kickboxing and things like that and yoga. So I've always been active, but never really got into strength training and really having a focused regimen when it comes to nutrition and trying to just take better hold of my health until about 2016. So,
Wow. Well, I want to talk to you more even about just doing sales for Rich Dad Poor Dad. That makes me like really curious. You post a lot of amazing, insightful things about mindset and your approach to mental health and um, even just your life in general. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is a pretty cool book. It's very insightful. I remember my dad actually told me, you need to read this, and he had my sister read it too.
Yeah.
What was it like working on the sales team for that? And did it, like, was this because you liked it, or was it just an opportunity presented? Like, what was that inspired by?
Yeah, it was from family. My aunt worked for the company, and so learning to trade. So specifically, it was like stock market information in regard to the Rich Dad Poor Dad philosophy. So Robert Kiyosaki owned the company, and so yeah, it was a fun opportunity to learn more for myself,
Yeah.
to help others, and it's especially interesting because we did this during 2001. Is that right? September 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of the date.
Yes,
we,
yes.
we did it during like September 11th, and like there
Yeah.
was a stock market crash. There was different things that happened, and so seeing the economy and those type of things from my perspective, traveling around the country and hearing people's personal stories of losing their money to the, oh my gosh, I can't think of that guy's name. Enron, a lot of people had money invested in Enron and different things like that, and just how people are so resilient in spite of all the
Mm.
hardships that they face. But
That's the message everybody needs right now.
yes, it's very true.
So, and then you were always into like an active lifestyle, but you hadn't yet been fully immersed into looking out for your health and your nutrition and really committing to your fitness and a regimen with this. So we had talked about how part of that was inspired by your pregnancy, actually, and after you had your first child. And something we didn't get to really touch on in that group episode was your battle through postpartum depression and how a big part of that was rebuilding your confidence and your self-worth. So was that part of what inspired you to actually go full in for your health?
It was that, and I mean, in conjunction with my husband too, saying like, you need to do this.
Mm.
So him, like, yeah, because he said, you need to do something for yourself. You need to find something that's like your time, where you're not always trying to just be the mom, like be Valerie. So,
Mm.
have those different hats that we as women wear. And so you're always a mom. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but it's nice to get away from the mom environment, and go to
Yeah.
lift at the gym and have my me time. And so, yeah, that definitely came from there because I needed a little bit of a break
Mhm.
from just the daily grind of life, which I'm sure lots of people feel the same about that in different ways.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. And training can be such a great release. And well, I don't believe we can rely on it. And I learned the hard way that fitness, at least for me personally, it became like a bandage in my life where I was like, let me just take myself to the gym every morning before I go to school, and let me just go and restrict all my food and have some sense of control, and then oh, it's a band-aid on my mental health. So what are some things that you did to actually focus on, or maybe even do to focus on your mental health over the years, especially after your battle with postpartum depression?
It comes down to that, the me time, taking time for myself, and also these little rituals that I like to do as well. So it's kind of the same idea as right before I step on the stage. I have my positive affirmations. I've done gratitude journals. I really, really like to do breathing exercises. So ways to help me to calm down when I'm feeling stressed. And those are just a few of the ways that help me, I guess.
Totally. I love that. The breath work and the finding ways to reduce stress that actually help you. And I also really like how much you committed to gratitude and are committed to the affirmations and really just staying in a positive mindset and valuing yourself enough to take that me time. So what are some of the things that you find have been like really great stress reducers for you in terms of the breath work? Like, is there something specific you do or a specific type?
I love to do belly breathing. So I've never done any sort of apps or anything like that, but it's just taking those deep breaths, laying down and just giving myself a few minutes of deep breathing. And I usually do it in bed because that's when
Mhm.
it's most peaceful after everybody's
Yes.
gone to bed. And so it just helps me to relax even more before I go to sleep. But, filling my tummy up and then totally releasing all the air out and breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. It's just, and it kind of helps to just like calm my mind too.
Mm.
I feel too, like we as women, we have so much that we want to do all the time, and we always have our to-do lists, and there's so many things. I know that I do this all the time. I'm even doing right now. I'm thinking of so many things at once that at night, it's that breathing and allowing me to like come and focus on just my breaths and not worry about what happened during the day. If there was something that happened with my kids or what's supposed to happen tomorrow, just being in that moment and just relaxing, because that's super helpful, because we need to be able to relax in such a high stress world. We need to find ways to be able to do that.
Yes, so true. And seeing the value in doing it. It's so easy to talk ourselves out of it, but those little things really add up. And the commitment to, okay, I'm going to do breath work. Okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes to just sit outside or put my feet in the grass and disconnect for a little bit. It's so easy to justify not doing those things because, oh, well, whatever, it's not a big deal. But when you do them consistently, like anything, and you start to reap the reward, you're like, oh, I cannot skip that. Like it becomes a non-negotiable. It's just as valuable as brushing your teeth every day. You're just as healthy and hygienic, because it actually is like a cleanse for yourself and your mind. And like you said, it brings you into the present moment. And I'm a big believer that when we're in the present moment, we really can't go wrong. We're actually able to do and make better decisions as well. So we can train ourselves to get into the present moment and find anchors for doing so. Man, imagine what we can accomplish when we apply that when we are in a high stress situation.
Yes, it's so true. And it really is invaluable. And like you said, they're really easy things to do, but it's sometimes the easy things that are the hardest to do, because you're like, oh, I can do that in 5 more minutes. And then, oh, I can do that
Yes.
tomorrow. And, it just kind of keeps getting pushed, but it's like, just do it. And even walking outside, like that's something I learned about last year, is just being outside in the sun. Especially like I live in Salt Lake, we don't get a lot of sun. It's not sunny, year round. We have the winter and things like that. And being able to get outside in the sunlight and get that fresh air and that vitamin D is, you can't like duplicate that. That is so good for the soul. So that's like another wonderful thing, if you can just get outside.
I love that idea. I recently started doing like a daily stroll, which I had not done before, and I know a lot of people did. It was one of those things I personally justified not doing. I'm like, I need to reserve all my energy for like my prep or for this, and it's so silly. But now I've been doing it. I'm like, I was putting so much pressure on myself. I don't have to walk fast. I don't have to go certain length or distance. Like, let me just go outside for a period of time, and it's made a big difference. And I think that that's a really great habit and definitely healing. And I actually wanted to ask you too about with your husband. You have mentioned how he really encouraged you to start immersing yourself in things that are more me time, are more Val time, allowing you to find the things outside of being a mom. I'm curious as to how competing has actually impacted your marriage and maybe even how like date nights or time spent with each other has changed over the years.
Good question. So it's been a positive impact because my husband loves fitness. He loves lifting, and he was eating a lot better and making better choices food wise and choosing to, live a more active lifestyle than I was before I started doing it. So it took him years, of gentle prodding to be like, come on and lift with me. Even when we were first married, we lived in Hawaii. We went to school in Hawaii. And
Oh.
and there was the gym at the college, and he would always try to talk me to go and lift. And I was like, nah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want big muscles. I don't want to look like a man. Right. That's what the
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
naive
wish it was that
Valerie,
easy.
right? Little do I know now. Would have started then, maybe I would be even better now. Anyway.
Right?
But yeah, so he's a very patient person, that's for sure. So just, years of gentle prodding and being like, come and do this with me. And now it's something that we both love. And I'm sure he never expected me to want to become a trainer and, get certifications. Like, I just love it. And so it's
Yeah.
been a good thing. And then as far as date nights, like, he loves to eat healthy. And when I say healthy, it's like, go to Mexican, or we'll get Indian food, or, whatever. But for the most part, when we're at home, we just eat the same food. Nothing out of the ordinary. We're just
Mhm.
the same, yeah, the same stuff.
Yeah.
We both like the same things. So it's a good thing for both of us.
That's great that you guys can complement each other's lifestyle and really live it together. And I think it's also really cool what you noted is like you still go out and enjoy yourselves. And I think there's this common misconception among people, especially competitors. A lot of the girls that I work with on their relationship with food, it's this belief that, oh, I can only eat a certain way. I can only eat these things or go out to these places. Or if I do go out, it's got to be I stuff my face until I can't eat anymore because I never get this type of mentality. And yet eating healthy can also be about it really is, and I think needs to be about just making conscious and considerate choices for how you feel and how your body's going to feel. And so when you guys go out for date nights, I'm curious as to what your approach is in terms of choosing what to eat, or maybe it's a refeed meal or a free meal, and knowing when you're done, or how do you actually yourself listen to your body or make those choices?
When we go out, we just pick whatever sounds good.
Mhm.
And I've never been one to be concerned about, this place might have more calories if we go here or anything like that. I am a pretty mindful eater, and so I don't eat fast. I like to take slow bites and chew my food thoroughly, and that's something that I've always done. And so I do that when we go out on date night. We just sit down and we eat our food and we talk, and it's just a relaxing, happy experience where I'm not worrying about like, oh, if I eat another roll, that's gonna throw me over or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just um, slowly and slowly eating and enjoying the moment, and then when I'm done, I'm done. I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
it luckily for me, and I know this isn't something that
Mhm.
everybody feels the same way, and there are people that struggle, but it's hasn't ever been a big issue for me to be able to just stop when I'm full. I have a good mindset about, like food will be there. I think it comes to, especially like that I have my kids at home, and so
Yeah.
I don't ever want them to feel like there's good foods or bad foods type of thing either. So when
I
when
love
I'm
that.
prepping, they see me eating my food, and I'll just say, I'm getting ready for my muscle contest right now, so I have to be more in eating more whole foods, and so I can't eat some chips with you or whatever it is, and they get it. But I don't want them to think like, oh, like we're eating bad food and mom's eating the good food. So there's also
Right.
super important for me to share with them as well. So I think that helps me to have a better handle and a better mindset when it comes to food and not overfilling myself with food and stuff.
That's great. I love that. Like having your kids really motivate you and be part of that internal drive to just honor yourself and honor your body and almost like asking what you'd want for them.
Yeah.
That's really great. And, some girls also really struggle with seeing lines slowly fade as they go into an improvement season or they're coming out of post show or they're in between shows and they're starting to fill out more. So, have you ever struggled with that? And if you have, what did you personally focus on to work through that?
So I've always said in the past that in between shows that I'm in an improvement season, but the longest that I've ever taken off of a show was like 5 or 6 months. And that's not, now I'm looking at it now, after because my last show was in November. So what's that, like 6 months, I guess, since my last show.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, I'm taking this whole year off. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, 5 or 6 months, that was nothing. Cause it's like, you have to think, it takes some time for your body just to like establish maintenance again as you're slowly
Yes.
increasing calories. And so those improvement seasons, as I called them before, which was just kind of like a little mini break.
Uh-huh.
Those were never, it was never a big deal. It didn't affect me mentally because I knew that, in 5 months I was going to prep again. So I was super excited to prep and get going again. Now, this improvement season that I'm doing right now, this is a little bit different. And I knew it would be more of a mind game because I'm playing the long game here this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was like a couple weeks ago, I went to put on my shorts and they don't fit. They didn't fit. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but what I had done is because I figured like, I need to be okay. Like I have my coach, he's helping me. So it's not like I'm out
Okay.
of control with my food. I have a plan and everything. And so I'm following my plan and things are going like they should. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm growing. And so when it first started, I thought, I should probably just buy some clothes that are a little bit bigger in case I need to wear them because I don't want to feel uncomfortable or feel bad for myself or anything like that.
Mm.
If, if it comes to where I need to wear them, then I can just put those clothes on and be good and know that what I'm doing is for, again, being a crazy bodybuilder person. I'm trying
Yes.
to grow. Like I really want to put on some more lean mass. So that's the whole purpose of what I'm doing right now. And it's super hard. So yeah, right now it's been a big mind game, especially the last few weeks. So
Because you're
just
like officially in a growth season, not just like a transitionary time period.
exactly 100%. I'm officially in a growth season and I had to put on bigger shorts the other week. So I confirmed that I'm in a growth season.
Yes, the booty is growing.
That's what I'm hoping. It better be growing.
Yes, I'm like, size is so arbitrary too. Like the things that we get worked up over or judge ourselves on is like eventually though, like the pants that we used to wear in peak week start fitting sooner than peak week because we actually took the time to have a body recomp or hey, even better if they don't fit ever again because we've put on all this muscle over the years and
Yeah.
just changing the perspective on growth. And I think it's cool that you were prepared to enter a growth season and even knowing what challenges may come or, okay, I may not fit in my shorts in a few months. So I'm going to just get some new ones now so I don't have to stress about it later. And I think that that's really cool. And aside from, of course, the actual effort to grow, I think sometimes girls get caught up in trying to all competitors can get caught up in trying to maintain a stage lean body or hanging and clinging on to that. And I saw in one of your recent posts, maybe not so recent, but to me it felt recent because I was just like scrolling through like a creep. But
Oh, whatever.
you were doing like 6 days of cardio, eating in a deficit, lifting weights to get to get that stage lean body. And you talked about how you would never recommend that for someone else to try to maintain year round. And so since you're actually certified in this arena, and this is something you've studied and learned about, I think some people actually struggle to grasp why it's important to have these growth phases too. And it sounds like you really embrace this. So what do you know to be the importance of taking time to get out of a deficit and really focus on the growth season?
Yeah, so when you're competing, you're putting a lot of stress on your body, right? Or dieting down. So everything kind of starts to slow down. Your BMR drops, your, what's it called? Like your NEAT starts to go down. Everything starts to decrease. Even your digestive system starts to slow down because you're just not giving your body as much energy with your food. And so when you are constantly dieting and doing that type and causing that type of stress to your body, then you need to give your body time to heal from that. Or if you don't want to use the word heal, time to recover from that intense stress that you've put on it. And some people, depending on their genetic factors, their mental health factors, their, just outside factors with work, their upbringing, just the lifestyle, the social aspects. Some people it can take longer. Some people it's not as big of a deal. Everybody's a little bit different when it comes to how much stress your body can take on. And that's why we see some women after dieting for a long time, they kind of get stuck where they're still eating less, but they're actually putting on weight. And so that's something that does happen, and it's getting more and more frequent. And that's the whole concept of like giving your body a break. So giving it time to heal, you're increasing the amount of calories that you can eat, giving your liver a break, because your liver is constantly trying to break down inflammation. If you're constantly doing really, hard cardio and keeping your heart rate up, training, because strength training in and of itself is a stress. It's a fun stress. Let's not forget that it's not fun. It's super fun. Everybody loves it. And some people are like super addicted to it, but it is a stress. So something that you can do is take your training down a little bit, change your programming a little bit so that you're not putting so much stress on your body, because it's so easy to work and change up your programming with your strength training versus trying to fix your financial problems or something like that. Because, there's so many things that cause stress on us. And so being able to manipulate your training variables is a lot easier to do. And it's just so hard for people to do because they look at that as their break from stress, but it's actually another stress. So there's understanding like how stress affects the body and all the different internal things that can happen, insulin spiking, really high elevated cortisol, all these different things that can happen from constantly dieting. And seeing that from friends or other people, like for me, I was like, I don't want to have that experience. I want to try to take a hold of my health and get it in a good spot before that happens. Cause it's inevitable, it will happen at some point. Some people, it just happens faster than others. So I just think that the training is super awesome. Everybody should strength train. It's super fantastic, but finding a way to periodize and go through bouts of intense training and back off and things like that is a good way to help your body to recover from those, when you're going super hardcore and dieting for a show. You need to give your body a break.
Yeah, and have a coach to help you with that. Have multiple coaches in different areas of your life, mentors, that can take some of that stress of the organization out of it, or the, like you said, the periodization, especially with training, and capitalize on it with you and help you and maybe be the third eye that sees things that you don't. And everything you said just got my wheels turning in my head. There's so many things I want to ask you about. And I know a lot of this is highly dependent on the individual, but something that kind of grinds my gears, I'm very curious what your opinion is. I don't even
Oh,
know if you could say it's an opinion, but I just want to get your take on this. But based on what you're saying, it's like there's so many different variables, like insulin sensitivity. There's also how long have you been in the deficit? What is your lifestyle like? What's your mental health like? So why the hell do we keep saying that it's all about calories in versus calories out? Like, I
oh my gosh. I don't know.
don't get this thing. I get so I get so triggered. I get so pissed by it because I see it's like the same people who say calories in versus calories out, then like the next week make a post like, okay, like, well, if your hormones are off and this is off and that is off, and I'm like, what? Like, you're promoting two different messages. Like, I think we need to get very clear about this, right? So I want to know your perspective.
I totally wish it was just about calories in versus calories out. How easy would that be? We'd
Right?
all be living our best life in our little bikini ready, six pack, booty popping bods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, yes, there's so many factors that come into play. So as simple as we want to try to make it, how long you've dieted before, the yo-yo dieting type of thing, the cortisol levels, lack of sleep. Even if you don't get enough sleep, that can play a role because
Mm-hmm.
your body doesn't get a chance to break down inflammation during the night if you're not getting high quality sleep. And then even like diet, you look at your food. If you're not eating a variety of whole foods and vegetables and fruits, because sometimes, when I first started, like doing contest prep, I remember thinking that like fruits were bad because they had
Yep.
sugar, right? I mean,
Yep.
maybe some
Salt.
people, yes, and salt. And so it's like, but you know what? Fruits are so important to have. I mean, not going around eating like bundles and buckets full of strawberries, because there can be too much of a good thing with everything. But you need to incorporate like a variety of good and whole foods in your diet, because those micronutrients your body needs to process and for all that bodily processes and to digest and break down food. And especially like the poor liver. The more I learn about the liver, I'm more of like, it's called the liver for a reason, because it helps us live. Like, we need to treat our liver better. And so it comes down to diet and recovery and sleep and things like that. So yeah, I think that
Absolutely.
it's so much more than calories in versus calories out. And I wish it wasn't, let's be
I
honest.
know.
But
But we can't subscribe to that belief anymore. Like, I'm making a public statement. Val, I think you're with me on this. Like, we gotta cut that shit. Like, no more. No more of this. Like, subscribing to that belief is so silly to me. I can't even wrap my head around it. I will never understand it, nor will I ever promote it, because it's not that simple. Like you said, if it was, like, none of this, people wouldn't even need to hire coaches or doctors or anything for their weight. It's just silliness. But to that point, like what you're saying about the liver, is there anything you've learned that's actually good to help support the liver?
fruit.
Fruit.
Yes. Fruit has fructose, and that's the type of carbohydrate that the liver needs in order to do its thing. So, in a nutshell.
Wow.
And
Thank you
so,
for that.
yeah, eating a little bit of fruit is not going to hurt you. It could possibly make you sleep better. That's one thing that happens as you're dieting down. So you think, this is something that always happened to me as I got closer to a show and got leaner, I would wake up more.
Yeah.
So here I am, super exhausted, but I'd constantly be waking up during the night, and I had no idea
Yep.
why. And that's something that I just learned in this last year from the N1 education certification that I've
Uh-huh.
done, is that the liver needs fruit.
Oh my god.
Like, it's very, very bare bones right there. But if you just incorporate 75 grams of fruit, that's maybe like 8 to 10 carbs. Like, it's not that much. And even when you're, so it's even more so important to incorporate fruit when you're in a deficit, because your body is working overtime trying to just run all of its functions. So I think that's a really easy thing people could do.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on like a fruit supplement?
I don't have any take. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be curious about that. Like, but like you said, it's not a huge impact on macronutrients for the day. And I think if you're open with your coach about your expectations, that can be doable. And it's what you brought up earlier too about like, oh, going into competing, like no fruit, I was referencing no salt. Those were some of the things that came up for me, or it was like, oh, it's so psycho about it, because I thought those were the rules that were promoted by the fitness industry, or people who looked so good and so successful and blah blah blah. But they could be very damaging beliefs spread, within the industry like that. And I love what you said about having that variety, focusing on micronutrients. How can you support your body in supporting you? And something that comes to mind is like, I used to not ever want to replace anything on my plan. Like I would be like, no, it's what's on the plan and that's it. Like if it says an apple, I'm having an apple. But now it's like, if it says an apple, I might have a banana, or I might have some blueberries, and I'm learning to be okay with that. And in the past like year and a half or so of doing that, I've noticed that it's allowed me to actually honor my body more, because my body's communicating to me what she really wants. And it's also allowed me to see the value and power of flexibility as well.
Yes, I love that. And I do think that brings up a good point about like flexible dieting versus if it fits your macros.
Yes,
I feel there's
true.
a difference. I feel there's a difference between those two. So flexible dieting is taking good, so you have like 4 ounces of chicken. But if you didn't want to eat the chicken, what's another lean protein you could eat? So
Mm-hmm.
versus, okay, if it fits your macros, I want to make this like low carb dish with, these, I don't know, these different things,
Mm-hmm.
and fit that into it. Or I want to fit like 5 Oreos into my meal plan tonight or something like that, which is okay to a certain extent. And again, this is totally my opinion. I might get haters.
Mm-hmm.
But
Uh-huh.
I really feel like flexible dieting should be just that. And you shouldn't just try to fit a bunch of processed foods into your macros just because you can. So,
Yes, I love that you brought that up. I like to think of it like it almost sounds like the can I afford it versus like, do I really need it? It's like, do I really want it? What is my body asking me for? I think the even just the term if it fits your macros tells you, well, you can't have it unless it fits.
yeah.
Versus like flexible dieting says, I choose what's best for my body. I choose what I desire. I'm a big advocate, especially for my clients who struggle with the concept of like incorporating bad foods into their plan. They have one Oreo a day. And if you're not on prep, just have it without tracking it. Just have it. It's not going to kill you. And then soon you won't care
Yes,
about it so much. But
exactly.
then there's that over extreme of, well, I can a lot of girls struggle with, oh, I can only have it if it fits the macros. I just feel like like you said, there's a big difference, and it comes down to I'm very passionate about the mindset side of it, as you know. So it's like, to me, when I hear that, it sounds so restrictive, and it's like, we have these parasympathetic nerve fibers actually that are communicating from our mind to our body. And so if we bring that type of energy to the plate, to the dinner table, to the Tupperware, I should say, to whatever we choose to eat, it's like, we're actually sending the signal to our body like danger, or don't prepare to digest fully. And we don't allow our body to actually break down the nutrients we need to the fullest and best capacity. So we end up shorting ourselves that. And I'm not saying this is happening to everyone who does if it fits your macros. If you're listening to this, I'm not saying, oh, because you say if it fits your macros, you have a distortion around it. I'm just saying to be mindful of the beliefs behind the decisions you make with food, because it can impact your digestion. It can impact what you actually get out of the food. And your mindset around it is going to play such a big role. And even to what Val is saying here, you know, there are foods you need, and if you restrict them, you're putting other things at risk.
Yes, it's so true. That mindset is huge. So that's, again, like I like the term flexible dieting versus if it fits your macros, just as like, you know, an untracked meal versus a cheat meal, just being able to change the dialogue in your head, like good food versus bad food, like kind of like swipe that all away,
Mm.
and being able to focus on like better ways of thinking when it comes to food and meal planning and, you know, different things like that that are associated with that.
Yes, I love that. And someone actually had messaged me a while ago for the show and wanted me to start incorporating this into it. I think it's a fun question. So this is just kind of random, but like, do you have a favorite prep food or prep meal, or even, you know, improvement season, or maybe a weird thing that you like to eat that maybe others wouldn't?
Hmm. I I don't know if this is weird. I'm sure lots of people do this, but I really like it, and I even like it now. But I like to eat celery and rice and chicken with buffalo sauce, and then some of that Bolt House blue cheese dressing. So it's kind of
Okay.
like chicken wings.
Oh my gosh.
With that, you know, it's the buffalo sauce, not the hot sauce, but the
Yeah, yeah,
buffalo.
yeah.
So
Good
I don't know if
combo.
that's weird, but I even ate that today. It's like so easy. It's super tasty.
Sauce makes such a big difference. Sometimes it's like, let me just get the right sauce on this thing.
Exactly. That's like, there's so many fun mustards out there. See, this just shows how boring of an eater I am. And I'm okay with it. Like, I like to eat like this.
Right, right, right.
Oh,
Exactly.
but yeah, I
And it
just
makes
eat.
you feel good.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Well,
Totally does.
something you have faced in competing is actually stressful times and learning to overcome them, and even work through them to ensure that your body doesn't crash on you. So, what are some of the things that you have done, or maybe even been encouraged by a coach to do, to overcome stress or those stressful times through prep?
Oddly enough, um, it is. This is really odd, but it
Uh-huh.
was taking a break.
Yeah.
Literally taking a break from training and allowing myself to have an untracked meal too. So I took a couple days break, contest prep, and this was the week before a show. I was
Wow.
stressed out, holding on to water. I could tell. I felt like, okay, I should be a lot tighter for being a week out from a show, and I know I'm stressed because of XYZ
Mhm.
and everything else. There are so many things. So yeah, that's what he told me to do. This was my first coach that I worked with, and he
Wow.
said, you're so stressed, and I know you're going to be super scared. Trust me on this. Take a break." And I didn't even really think twice, because I was mentally and emotionally exhausted, that I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
thank you."
That's what you really needed.
I did. I totally needed it. And so took that, it was like 2 or 3 days off, and then started peak week on Monday, and just came into the show looking my best ever. So it was like such a good experience for me,
Mm-hmm.
because firsthand experience of understanding like more is not always better. Like sometimes we really do need to take a step back, relax, calm down, turn our parasympathetic nervous system on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just relax. So yeah, that was like, that's the experience that stands out in my head the most, was that.
Wow. So that is an experience that I wish more girls, including myself, had in the beginning, you know, where it isn't always about pushing and pushing and pushing, but maybe it's actually the step back that you need. It's really truly the step forward. We label it as a step back because that's how we've been conditioned to see it. And I just think it's awesome that that was an experience you had and you've been able to now apply. And is this or has this influenced your approach with the competitors you train, or the people you work out with, or the people you coach online in their preps and their improvement seasons, or in their lifestyles? And is there anything you do that you feel is not just necessary, like how that was necessary for you, but actually makes an unexpectedly big difference, kind of like how that was unexpected?
Yeah, this is something I do with everybody. So my assessment when I take on new clients, I ask quite a few questions and have a phone call. And I really like to get in-depth detail of what they've been doing, not just what they're training, but what their lifestyle is like, any sort of, recent events that could have been stressful, just like, any out of the ordinary things that have happened. And then take all that into account, what they're eating, how often they're eating, what's their sleep like. I love to get the whole view and get all those biomarkers. And then most of the time, I just take the client, whatever they've been doing with their training, I take them to the opposite end of the continuum of training, like training stimulus. And I have them start with that type of training. So it's like a deload, but not in the way that when we talk in the fitness world of a deload. A deload is just taking yourself out of whatever type of programming you've been doing. So it doesn't have to be, metabolic. Metabolic is what people always think with the deload. So it might be more of like a neurological type of stimulus that we're doing. So, and some people it works amazingly. Other people, they need even more time in a deload, or even taking different measures and digging deeper to find out what's happening inside, because some people aren't, and it's a lot of my guys don't have as hormonal issues as women do. Women just tend to have more. It's just lucky us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I have this one male client who working out 6 days a week, doing cardio 7 days a week. He was even doing 2-a-days and just training super hard. And for him, it was just exactly what he needed to switch from just like restorative, leisurely type of walking, like nothing like you're trying to walk on a 10 incline on the treadmill. Like it's like just a little bit of walking to calm yourself down, but not trying to get your heart rate up after your training, only training 4 days a week, and just taking his nutrition to match with his training as well. So just switching his macros up and not making big changes with those. And he just like dropped weight. And this has happened with some women too, but it's amazing how stress, even good stress, like the gym, can cause stress on people, and they just need to take it down for a bit. And you can push yourself hard. Like I keep saying that you can push yourself hard. You have your time frame of how hard you're going to push yourself, and then you come back out of it. It's not something that you're like, just keep pushing. I really have a firm belief that you can push yourself hard, but it's not something you should be doing all the time. So
That's powerful. That's a powerful story, and that's a powerful lesson right there, I think, in any aspect of life. And yeah, I really appreciate that insight. And I'm curious if you've ever had like pushback from clients when you've expressed that to them, because I feel like there's a societal conditioning as well that in order to drop fat, or in order to gain muscle, or in order to achieve a physical result, then we need to be pushing ourselves super, super hard all the time, and it needs to look a certain way. So how have you I guess overcome pushback from clients on that?
most of my clients are referrals, and so they've heard from old clients or current clients about my philosophy on fitness, and so they know when they're coming to me that it's going to be different from for the most probably everything that they've ever done before when it comes to dieting or growing or whatever their main goal is. And so they know that my approach is different, and I also take the time to explain things. I feel like that's a really important thing as a coach. When clients ask questions, I never want them to feel like it's a stupid question. I never want to tell them because I said so, or why are you asking me that question? They hired me. And I think that sometimes we forget that. Even contest prep, like I still feel like it's okay when you're in contest prep to be able to ask your coach questions about
Yes.
the process, like, and if they don't have an answer, like a coach can say, I don't know, and you can still like your coach and still have a
Yeah.
good experience. Like they can say, I don't know, let me find out, or this is why we're doing what we're doing. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And so I've always take the time to explain things with clients. There's been lots of opportunities I've had to do, like FaceTime calls. Sometimes I'll just talk to them on the phone, or sometimes it's just, messaging each other back and forth. But I never want clients to feel that their opinion isn't valid, that their questions aren't worth my time, because again, they hired me to help them. It's a service and they need to understand. And that's also the other thing, is I really want my clients to be able to take these skills and use them for life. So I don't ever want it to be like a secretive thing where it's like, oh, you just do it and you don't ask me any questions because I don't have time for you. Like I just don't like that very much. I don't want to treat people like that. And the first rule of coaching is do no harm. And I never want to do harm to them physically or emotionally. So,
Yes. Oh my gosh, this totally just made me think of a conversation I heard on another podcast. Pete Carroll, he's a football coach, the Seahawks, and he came on, and he's been a head coach of other teams as well, big teams, winning teams. So he was coming on talking about winning, and something that I love what he said was how he actually worked with Brene Brown, and she is big on vulnerability, and anyway, he had. Yes, so she's amazing, and he is really awesome too. And I did not know anything about him. Okay, I didn't even know who this guy was. I just saw like this podcast that I subscribe to, and I rarely even listen to podcasts. Don't tell any of my listeners. But yeah. But he was saying something really cool, which I appreciated, and it made me think of what you just said, which is that she told him you have to create an environment with your team that allows for vulnerability, because that's where we can actually improve. So her example was like, if a guy on the team says, oh, I was afraid to make that tackle, and everyone makes fun of him for saying that, why would he ever say that again? And then, you'd think, well, then he couldn't really be coached on overcoming that, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great point. And what you just said totally made sense to me. If your client's comfortable to come to you and say, I'm uncomfortable doing this, or I'm scared to try this, that actually gives you the opportunity as a coach to see room for growth, or explain opportunity, or coach them. And I just appreciate and love that that's something you value and promote as well.
Thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I would like to be treated like that too. And so I figure that other people would like to be treated like that as well. And I really believe that we know our bodies best. There's nobody that knows our bodies better than we do. And so feedback and input from my clients is invaluable, because they know what's happening. They know, how they're feeling, or if something's not right. And also, on that same note, like you were saying, that opportunity to be vulnerable and that's also been another really important thing for me. And I've had the opportunity to help my clients, go help them to have the courage to go to therapy for eating disorders. One had narcolepsy, and I talked him into going to the doctor to, find out what was going on. So I feel like being able to have a good open line of communication and letting them know that they're important and what they have to say is important. It's not only helps them physically, but it can help them emotionally, because there's some that are, now thriving even more because they've been able to overcome some other, big hurdles in their lives. So those are the special moments.
Yes. I love that. And it's so rewarding, and it's awesome that it really is a team effort, and encouragement and guiding clients is such a big part of that process. And I really want to know, from your experiences in bodybuilding, what are some of the things about bodybuilding that you feel have like maybe lessons from bodybuilding or the preps and the improvement seasons and everything in between, like what parts of bodybuilding do you feel actually positively contribute to your personal growth in your own life and as you're in your life? Is that making any sense? Like the
Yes,
okay.
it totally does. Cause I'm thinking like, when you push yourself, so the first thing is like, I have always been excited to go to the gym. I always get excited. There's never been a day where I didn't want to go and like had to force myself. Like I love to work out. So,
Mm,
but there's times when you're lifting and you start to get exhausted, and especially deep in contest prep, and you're just like, man, I don't know. But then it's
mm,
that like analogy of like, your mind is stronger than you realize, and you have that ability to push beyond your limits. And it's when you
mm,
get beyond those limits that you really start to see the changes and the magic happen. And I've taken that type of thinking into my life where, if things are hard, like that's okay. This is a challenge that is going to push me and help me to grow and become a better person. And so I
mm.
have the mental capacity to get through this. So that's one thing. I think that there's so many wonderful correlations of bodybuilding with life. I just really do. That being able to have the discipline to follow through on a plan and the reward of knowing that you did something hard is,
Mm.
it totally increases your confidence. And that next time that you do you encounter something hard, that you'll be able to get through it because you were able to do that last challenge. So
Yes.
I
So
think it's
true.
pretty fun and pretty incredible.
It is, and it's amazing. Like so many different places in life, people who aren't bodybuilders use bodybuilding in their analogies. So, there's so many things that do help that. And now I was hoping, I don't know where you're at with time, but I would love to hear about your experience competing in Puerto Rico if you have time to talk about it.
Yeah, totally. What do you want to
Awesome.
know?
Well, I just want to know what it was like to go there and compete there. I know you went with Robin and Sarah, but like, what was it actually like to compete in Puerto Rico?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I can't even tell you. The best experience ever. So what we did
Wow.
is we stayed at the property,
Uh-huh.
and because Puerto Rico had just had that hurricane the year before, the property that we stayed at was the Hilton. It had just opened up like the week or two before. So it was like
Oh,
newly renovated. It was so incredible. The weather was amazing. And we got there a few days early so we could play. And then we also
yeah.
planned to stay a little bit longer so we could play afterward. So it was more like a vacation, and then we competed in the middle, and then we vacationed more. And everything about it was fantastic. Like we had so much fun. And I think that because that show, I loved my physique in that show. And I think it was because like we went into it like zero stress. We
Yeah.
were just like playing. It was, the three girlfriend moms hanging out together for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So um, it was, and then just the experience of doing a Wings of Strength show,
Yeah.
amazing. Because they have all the divisions there. And so it was just super fun. I do have to tell you. So
Yes.
the night before the show, I washed my hair and I dried my hair out. So I was in the hallway so the other girls could wash their hair too. So
Okay.
I was in the hallway drying my hair, and I unplugged a plug. I thought it was like the TV. And the next morning, our we went to get like our chicken and things out of the fridge, and it was warm. I
No.
had unplugged the refrigerator.
No.
All
Oh my gosh, all your food.
of our food. And so luckily it was show day morning, and a really
Oh my gosh.
amazing perk of being a pro is that you know exactly when you go on. So we were going on at
Yes.
10 o'clock. And so I was too afraid to eat the protein. I think that Robin and Sarah both ate some of the they didn't get sick, but I
Oh
think
my
both of them
god.
did. And I didn't eat it, so I just didn't eat any chicken because
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I don't want to be in Puerto Rico sick. So anyway, that was the bad story of me, but
Oh
luckily
my
they were
god.
nice to me.
I was gonna say, you're lucky you even saw the stage that morning. Like,
I know.
I like how they're like, "That's fine. I'll just eat my chicken. No biggie."
They're like, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. I feel terrible. Like, you guys want me to like try to find somebody that we can order food? They're like, no, 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 it's okay. I'm like, you guys are being so nice
Oh
because I
my
felt
gosh.
terrible. But so yeah, that was the embarrassing low moment for me. But then like we did the show, we had an amazing experience. It was so much fun. And then the next day we bought tickets to fly to this other little island,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of those teeny little prop planes. It was probably
Right.
from like the 1950s, and it only fit like 5 people. They sat us in there by our weight.
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, well, at least we're having fun if we crash.
Yes. I've only been on one of those planes once and I know exactly what you're talking about and how it feels. It even like the windows are open, you feel like you're in like a bus, like in the air.
Yes, it's so loud and it's like jiggly the whole time. And you're like, oh man, is like feet gonna fall out from under me? But yeah,
Yeah.
we had lots of fun. And then this little island we went to, they like you could rent golf carts. And so we just like drove a golf cart around this little island. So we had a really fun
That's cool.
time. Anyway, so that's Puerto Rico.
Oh, I love that. So are you gonna do it again?
We sure want to. Like we had been talking about, there's a show in China. I mean, this was last year. We were like, I think there's a show in
Yeah.
November in China or Romania, but maybe next year. This year is kind of a bust.
I know. What the heck? It is what it is. And it'll just make everything travel wise so much sweeter and awesome. And yeah, I would think that's such a great experience and how it felt like a vacation. I can't imagine anything better than being able to spend that time with loved ones, your friends, and stepping on stage and then enjoying yourself there, like total blissed out, just doing your thing.
Oh, it was so fun. I highly recommend any destination contest for anybody. It's such a fun thing to do. I mean, and then you look super amazing for the beach, like you're
Yes.
already bikini ready. So it's
Just gotta
perfect.
worry about your tan.
Yes, that's right. Your crazy looking tan as it starts to look off.
That is awesome. The only thing that has ever held me back from doing something like that is like I would probably only go if I was gonna stay a few days after. I don't know that I would go to hang out a few days before because I'd be too worried about like, well, what if my coach puts like I need to do this, or what if I'm on my feet too much? Like I would have too many questions running through my head.
Yes, it's true. You are right.
So just knowing your body, you went in, you had a lot of fun, and yeah, that's just awesome. And you guys had been raving about it on the last show, and I was like, well, what the heck happened? So that's great.
Yeah, seriously, it was so much fun. Like I couldn't believe that my husband was down for just taking the kids for the whole week so I could go and play with my friends in a tropical location.
That's
So
awesome.
he
How
was a little
supportive.
bit jealous. I don't blame him because it was pretty fun, but it was nice.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on again and sharing so much. And I always love to end the episodes by asking for advice. So you've given us so much amazing insights, and I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I could keep talking to you all night, actually. But what would be your best advice for someone who has never competed before but's thinking about it? And then your best advice for a girl who is on her road to pro?
So somebody who's never competed before, I would say ask lots of questions, attend a show or two, and see what it's all about. Because it's a pretty big deal. It does cost a lot of money. And so really seeing what it's all about before jumping in head first. so you can kind of have expectations and manage those along the way as you're prepping. It also would give you a great opportunity to find out about different coaches and their coaching styles and what would fit best for you. Because that's an important thing too, is to find someone that works with you and that you're not like scared to talk to or things like that. And then what was your other question?
Advice for the girl who's on her road to pro.
Ooh, road to pro. I have so many friends on the road to pro. It's just keeping your head down and do not compare yourself to others. You do you, and continue to focus on your improvements that you're making and that optimism. So just continuing to have that optimism and seeing how far you've come and that you are worthy and totally capable of earning that pro card. Never let a doubt cross your mind. Continue to have those positive thoughts.
I love that. That's such great advice. Both of those pieces of advice are awesome. And again, just everything you've shared. And I would love if everyone could be able to connect with you, even reach out to you about coaching and see what you have to offer as well. So can you share with everyone how they could do that?
Yes. My, I don't know if you can.
Yes.
My website is vavumvscfit.com. And I have my coaching page on there. And then you can also see my Instagram account and message me there, which is also vavumvscfit.
Awesome. Okay, I'll make sure I put both of those links in the show notes page. So to everyone listening, that's celestial.fit/podcast. And Val's episode will be right at the top if you're listening first thing on Friday morning or whatever day it is where you are. And if you guys haven't heard the group podcast, I'll make sure to link that too, so you guys can go back and give that a listen, because there's a lot of golden nuggets and awesome info in that podcast too. So again, that'll be on celestial.fit/podcast. There's always episode timestamps too, so you can see exactly what we talked about when. So because you love this episode, you can go back and hear pieces and parts of it again. So with all that being said, I so appreciate you guys listening. And I do just want to say that your ratings, your reviews, your subscriptions go a long way. And when you leave a review or when you subscribe, it can help to increase our listenership. So that's a great way to support the show. And of course, we'll keep showing up for you guys. I love doing this, and I appreciate all the support when you guys post it on your stories, when you share it with your teammates. It means so much to me. Thank you guys. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just